Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Dillon Dialogue. I'm Dillon Town Manager Tom Breslin, and I'm joined on the podium here with Mayor Kevin Burns and Council Member Brad Bailey.
Hi.
This is, just plug myself here, this is the last Dillon Dialogue I will be doing before I retire, and it's been great fun, and we really appreciate all the help we get from Brad at the TV station. So, without further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the town of Dillon. We're having a good month financially. Kevin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So for anyone who watches the program, normally they know that we report sales tax a few months behind because it's collected by the state and then remitted back to us. So we have a slight lag on our monthly financial reports, but the last update we have is from May. Our May sales tax is up $25,767 or 7%. We're still down year to date $34,350 or 1.3%. We can pretty safely say that that's due to the closing of Sports Authority and Natural Grocers, and I'd say importantly to note that this May financial doesn't capture the opening of REI really. Like we're gonna actually start seeing some of these new stores that have opened kind of come back into the mix for the summer, and I think just from walking out and about, I don't know if you noticed this, Brad, but it seems like there's a lot of people out there.
Full.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna start seeing some pretty good financials coming in for our summer months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, some things the council have been working on going forward for next year's election. We actually have a number of seats up at the council, and we're also going to entertain some ballot issues.
We are.
And
I can tell you about the first one.
Okay.
The first one is it's a 5A ballot issue. As many of you may be aware, the county last year we approved a 0.5% increase in our Housing 5A fund, which generates a lot of money, $40 to $50 million in the next 5 years, maybe. Yeah. And as those monies become available, the town of Dillon would like to be able to bond on that money, even though we don't have projects yet. And that is just so that when projects do come available, and these are obviously workforce housing projects, we can get dirt ready quicker than if we don't have the bonding, which takes an election approval from the voters to get in place. So you will see that bond issue on your November ballot.
And I would say, just sort of conceptually, a few of the some of the reasons to that we're asking for this. It's we are going to get some amount of money every year, obviously through that sales tax, but without the ability to bond. Our ability to subsidize these projects is pretty minimal, and certainly I've heard from folks in the community, I'm sure you have too, yes, Brad, that like it's if you're there's only, if a town's not coming in to help subsidize a project, it's only going to get to a certain level of affordability, right? Correct. For a third party to come in and have it pencil out. So we have been trying to work strategically with some existing developers. We've heard some proposals that don't involve a lot of town subsidy, and we think those are some of that could be there's potential wins for the community there, but if we have the opportunity to have like a major project come up that we can bond for and have some big subsidy, we can start bringing that affordability like much more in line to that 60% AMI, 80% AMI that you can't really capture without having those kind of resources available. And we're the kind of town we do pretty well financially, but at the same time we don't have enough to just throw huge amounts of cash at a housing project without being creative.
We don't, and this is a new, obviously a new tax across the county, and we don't quite know how it's going to shake out, how the voters, how the legislative, how town councils are going to want to use these funds to help the workforce issue. We just want to make sure that we're ready to go, right, and can contribute our part. Yeah. And Dillon is the smallest of the 4 towns here, such that we're ready to go should a project become feasible.
Yeah, I think a good example we've talked about on the show before would be if we could, there's a Forest Service parcel up by Tenderfoot that we've talked about for years about potentially acquiring. If that was to happen at some point in the next, if we were to be able to acquire that at some point in the next few years or whatever, we would have that ability to kind of go in and start jumpstart that project quickly, be able to put some resources into it to be able to create some quality, affordable housing for the actual workforce that lives here and kind of works here. So if you don't have that ability, you might maybe you end up with the property and then you have no resources to take it to that next stage, and you have to wait for another year to go to the voters at that point. You've wasted that much time during this while we're kind of in a crisis.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Well, and that won't be the only ballot question that we're contemplating.
No. We have another ballot question. This is one that the folks have seen. If you're watching this because you love Dillon but live in another town, you might have seen it on your local ballot already. It's an opt-out of Senate Bill 152, and I've actually got the wording of the ballot question here, so I'll go ahead and read that. Shall the town of Dillon, without increasing taxes, and to restore local authority that was denied in 2005 to all local governments by the Colorado legislature, be authorized to provide high-speed internet services, telecommunication services, or television services as defined by Section 29, 27, 101, 304 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, including but not limited to improved high bandwidth service based on future technologies, directly or indirectly with the public or private sector partners, to residents, businesses, schools, libraries, nonprofit entities, and other users of such services without limiting its home rule authority. So that I just
Thanks
quickly
for doing that, Kevin.
Yeah, I know that.
Kevin is a speed reader, so this does come in handy both here on television and during our meetings.
So that's a pretty long way of saying that in 2005 there was a Senate bill that was passed out at the state legislature that removed the authority of local governments to provide high-speed internet services, telecommunication services directly to all those entities mentioned: schools, libraries, residents, businesses, but you were allowed to opt back into having that authority. So if this bill, if this ballot question passes in November, the town of Dillon could contemplate providing its own high-speed internet service, or working with Summit County and other towns to provide a local service. I would say more realistically for our size town, what that means is that creates a better opportunity to negotiate with our service providers that are there currently. And I think that's the way you see it a lot of times. This has been, as I mentioned, this is a question that's appeared on local ballots of other
Multiple
places across the state.
Yeah,
and it's always passed, I believe. And it's really just giving your local government better negotiating ability, that ability to try to be creative and providing better services. So hopefully everybody watching here thinks it's pretty much a no-brainer. But we're obviously always happy to answer questions or consider, I can take in anyone's questions or concerns. So.
Yeah, when you hear opt out, it sounds like you're getting out of something. Actually, you're maintaining what you already have and enhancing the possibilities of partnering going forward in the best interest of the citizens. So it's a good move.
Yeah, I think that first line, restoring local authority, is what it's about. So,
yes, it is. Okay, well, and with busy summer going on, right, Brad? You keeping your eye on the projects?
We are. I have lots of nicks in my tires and dings in my windshield, but I'm very happy for all of them. Let's see. East Levante Street from Lake Dillon Drive to Buffalo Street. We completed that this past spring. And as you're probably aware, these resurfacing projects are contemplated years in advance, and we budget for them in part of our capital plans and stuff, so they're all planned. Lodgepole Street between the Marina and Dillon Pines was finished about 2 hours before the July 4th morning. I can tell you that personally. They did a very good job.
Which was the deadline, by the way.
It was the deadline. Lodgepole Street, Highway 6 from Little Beaver Trail south, basically all along Elkhorn is going to be that's for next year, I'm sorry. That stretch of road is bad. It's been bad for years. We've had that on our list. We postponed it for the moment because we did some US 6 construction here recently, also on a water line. You've seen those shiny stairs because they're not in this picture right now behind me. That come from Marina Place down to the marina. They were finished up here in the last couple of weeks. There also is a secondary set on Lodgepole that go down to the lake, which has been wonderful because there's a pretty busy crossing right there. So please use those stairs. That's what they're for. Amphitheater, in case you haven't known or haven't been keeping up, I'm sure you have. The amphitheater construction actually started this morning, I believe. I was woken up by the sound of a big excavator chewing up concrete. They're starting some of the secondary work. The amphitheater building itself, I think demolition is next week, I believe.
19th, I think the 18th or 19th is on the schedule, yes.
We've all been working hard on this project for several years.
Yes.
It's come to fruition. We're all very excited. You can expect up to a year of construction. They will get excavation and stuff done next coming months. Concrete work done. The idea is to get that all done before winter sets in. Interior work and all that can proceed through the winter in time for opening up for the summer schedule next year. That does not preclude our summer concert series. Starting this coming weekend, the 15th, we're all moving over to the town park, and I think you know where that is. It's right adjacent to where the farmers market is on Buffalo Street. We've got a big stage. We've got the requisite porta potties. We've got some great bands, cover bands, original bands coming.
We got it
all summer long. So make sure you go over there. There'll be vendors there. We'll have concessions. It'll be a different feel than the amphitheater, obviously, but I think it's going to be fun for this summer, just something different. The quality of the bands is better than it's ever been. And we'll be giving you updates on the amphitheater. Town council will over the months on those processes, but that will be a pretty exciting project.
Okay.
I think I'll give a quick plug. Just as you follow, like going through some of those projects. We do have that highway, the CDOT work, Highway 6 and Highway 9. You can go to codot.gov/projects and get the latest on that. So they're the ones running that show, and they stay updated with us. We try to push out that information. But for anybody who wants the absolute latest and greatest on what they're up to, you can find that on their website. And we try to push that through our channels, but sometimes
they're getting close to finishing that, aren't they?
Yeah. I think it's pretty close. But you can log on the website and see exactly what the progress is.
Although they will be working north of the highway.
That's correct.
All the way up and probably into October.
Yeah.
Seems the Dillon side is there's still work going on right now out there, but they're a lot closer to finishing there. So
I don't know if you mentioned this, but we did finish up our water line replacement. Was the other thing people have seen.
That's correct.
Seen lots of live bodies out on the roads for. That was. I know we've talked about this in past meetings. We've got some, that old infrastructure got to get replaced, and we're lucky to be able to get that done.
We had a big break at Christmas time, didn't we?
Yep.
And so we decided to go ahead and accelerate that project.
Yeah. I think you mentioned, Brad, we got a lot of projects coming in from our on our 10-year capital plan. You mentioned some of the changes to the amphitheater. We're going to be, you mentioned the demolition. What that entails is we are going to actually demolish the stage for the new structure. It's going to be, I think we've actually had schematics here in the past, but we're bringing that building back towards the rec path down and back, so that even though you've got a bigger building, that it's the sight lines will. Are going to be pretty minimally affected. We'll have some areas that open up, while a few other areas we'll see.
We should probably get a rendering back here as our backdrop for next month.
We could do that. We did a presentation one time on it, but we have a final rendering now that's different than what we had shown. But a couple of the features that add on to what Kevin and Brad have said. We had a severe restroom shortage down there, and now we'll have like 45 restrooms. Maybe not. I'm not sure if it's 45 or not, but we will have some that are accessible to the Marina Park playground area, and we will also have restrooms down below that are accessible off the bike path, which is a good feature to have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're also we have that project funded, but we are taking donations at the town in an effort to support a new sound system. So you can stop by Town Hall, pick up a brochure, or typically at all our concerts and events, we have brochures that outline the plan for the amphitheater and the ability to make contributions. So please stop by. And we do hear periodically that people don't think the concert series is in Dillon. The concert series is in Dillon every Saturday night in the town park from now till the first weekend of September.
Labor
And we
Day,
have the farmers market on Friday, so there's plenty of things to do. All right, we're going to step out for a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll cover a few more topics. Welcome back to the second half of Dillon Dialogue on this nice Thursday up here in Summit County. This is our second take on this because I can't remember what I'm supposed to be saying, so let me kick it to Kevin, who can remember that.
Thank you, Tom. Before we move on to some other topics, we wanted to circle back to something from the first half real quick. Talking about amphitheater improvements, we do have a lot going on. ADA accessibility, we're going to have seating capacity 3,500. We're adding a whole pavilion, but all that couldn't happen without some of the partners who we've been working with on this project. I want to give it kind of a shout out. We did get it. We were able to work really well with Alpine Bank, a good local bank here, to secure a $5 million loan. And then on top of that, we've also been getting various grants and contributions. Department of Local Affairs gave us a tremendous grant. Summit County government has helped contribute, particularly because we're a huge component of this amphitheater reconstruction is going to be the increased rec path accessibility, which is going to be a great county amenity. And then the Summit Foundation stepped up with a maximum grant that they allow, which is that's for anyone who knows that organization, the community is. I think certainly really meaningful for me. Disclaimer, I'm on the board, but I had to recuse myself for any of that discussion. It just shows kind of the level of, community countywide support for this project
We
that
were
we're
very
doing.
surprised. That was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a very wonderful surprise to see that happen. And you just want to, we'll certainly take every opportunity we can to thank all of our partners, but this is the first chance on camera that I've had, so I want to make sure that we were able to do that. So thank you for everybody watching who contributed. As said, there's still opportunities to get involved if you want, and otherwise we're plugging away. So
We certainly are.
but that's actually not all that we're doing. We do have. I think we can circle back to some other development and housing issues that we've been working on. But Brad, I think we had some changes to the marina. Is that?
We did. We have a new manager starting this winter, who came from Frisco, Phil Hofer. I forget his last name, right? And he has pretty much taken his job and run with it, as far as we can tell. Actually, we do know that. And part of that is extended hours for the operation. We have a lot of daylight this time of year, and it's high summer. And so he and his staff have done that, which is, I think, contributed to some of their extraordinary numbers in retail sales in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
They've also done a lot of, I'd call them small improvements down there, including wave attenuators and such, and dock reconstruction. The Tiki Bar got a little facelift. And they're doing a great job down there, and I think you're going to see, they've also included online bookings now, which has improved their retail sales again. Their boats are being used a lot, I know that. They do have a big event August 5th, which is a Dillon Open. For those of you who don't know, that's a big national sailing regatta for 2 or 3 days. I'm not quite sure. It's always fun to watch that lake fill up with all those little white puffy sails.
That's awesome.
And it's just amazing. So come check that out. Also in the downtown core, do you want me to talk about the RFPs
I was
a little
going
bit?
to just remind you about the new feature we have at the amphitheater is the beach that we put in on the outside of the amphitheater. You have the outside of the marina. You walk
That's
through the
right.
marina, and you can launch your kayaks and stand-up paddle boards, or you can rent stand-up paddle boards out there, which is really nice. The ground is. We changed the topography somewhat so you could more easily access the lake, and it's smooth and
It's quiet over there.
yeah, it's quiet. It's protected from the wind that kind of hits the other side of the lake. It's a little cove, so it's a good place to learn. So
Stay away from crazy power boaters like me.
yeah. So it is a nice peaceful setting. So come down there and enjoy it.
Come down and check out the fleet.
I would say the all those changes you mentioned about the marina. I liked what you said about that. They seem small there, but they're very effective changes that Phil has made, and it's it makes it all feel different but the same, which is you get that same marina feel, but everything's easier all of a sudden.
To open the gate to the dock anymore.
Yeah, everything's easier and more efficient all of a sudden.
I'm not gonna drop it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I have to remember the combo, but I can do that.
Yeah. So well done to Phil and all the staff down there.
Yeah,
It's been a great summer so far.
He's been doing a good job.
Yeah.
So we do have some development on the horizon potentially. So why don't you talk about that, Brad?
We do. Just to back up quickly, Dillon established an urban renewal district 6-7 years ago for two reasons. One, should property values rise, we might get some funding to spur some development in downtown Dillon, but also such that staff and council have some tools to create some development in downtown Dillon. We've all been trying to do that for a lot of years. So we have kind of carved out of downtown Dillon in the last year and a half, 2 years almost, some unused parcels and unused parking lots that are utilized. And we've created 6 to 7 parcels that we are putting out on the open market for development proposals. Some of them have been acted upon over by CMC. Others have been put out in the more central core in the last couple of months, I believe. And I believe those responses from prospective developers and or builders architects are due back in August. So we are hoping to have some substantive and interesting proposals to see how the town can partner with someone for any sort of combination of mixed use, retail, workforce housing, hotel, whatever comes along that befits our town's image in our comprehensive plan, which we've also worked on the last couple of years. So we're hoping to see some attractive proposals come forth.
So I'd like to add a couple of points. First, just one, and it's just because I hear it every time, and we always like to get this plug, is that we're talking about redeveloping some of our parking. We've done lots of in-depth studies about how those, as you mentioned, how underutilized those parking areas are. We've pinpointed how many spaces are needed, time of day, under existing conditions, what do we need in what seasons, and if we do a build out, how many are we going to need? And we absolutely are taking that into consideration. We look at proposals. If you remove one spot, how much of the reservoir of parking do you still need? But I think that there's I think there's been a shift in the mindset certainly for me, and I think for others on council and probably even staff, is that we have to look at the one of the things that we're fortunate in Dillon is that we have we have a surplus of parking for the most part, and we're a parking rich community right now, and that's a resource that we can draw from in future development. And we have to start, and we can kind of look at it that way, that there might be some that, whether it's recognizing that a parking lot can be redeveloped, or that because we have this reservoir of parking, we can make it attractive for somebody to come in and redevelop a building. Those are things that we have that a lot of our communities around us don't have.
But it's not a finite pool.
But it's not, or it is a finite pool. It's not infinite, right? So
correct.
we have to. So if we're gonna redevelop a piece of land, a parking lot into a building, we have to make sure that's worth it, that we're drawing down from that pool. If we're going to work with a developer to utilize, to utilize some of those spaces that we know we have a surplus of, we have to make sure it's the right project. But we're, I think we can, seeing some of our other communities, we can see how tough an egg to crack that, the parking thing can be, and we're fortunate that we have this kind of attractive resource
and we're
in our town.
very attuned to it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we all have to park downtown too sometimes. Right.
That's right. That's right.
So, and then the other thing I wanted to bring up is that I think I think it's just worth mentioning that the RFP that we put out and the proposals we're supposed to get back in August. You mentioned, I think you delineated, but that really is looking for development along Lake Dillon Drive and, a little further, and then through part of our, part of that town core area, sort of that back, kind of that area along Labonte that's more residential. We didn't necessarily include in that RFP. We'd contemplate that that's maybe a little different use than that kind of mixed use development that we're really looking for that might have more of a residential character. So we've been kind of treating that separately. And then it doesn't necessarily include the those gateway parcels that have been talked about on this program for as long as I've been on council.
Correct, on the west side of Lake Dillon Drive and up against US 6, correct?
Yeah, and those are kind of on their own track. People have probably heard things or seen them in the paper, but those are, I think it's kind of exciting to talk about. We have, 3 or 4 different kind of different projects that we're talking about in the town of Dillon right now. And it's, and they're all doing somewhat different things and going to bring different, potentially going to bring different, different looks and characters.
They're all exciting projects.
Yeah, and all exciting.
They really are.
Yeah, but just to clarify for everybody, they all link together. We have to look at it holistically and how every piece is going to fit together. But they're not. But they are different developers that are coming in with different projects.
And different zonings.
Yeah, different. Yeah, they're in different. Yeah, there's different zonings. There's all sorts of different requirements on each project. So
And that dovetails nicely into our next topic, which we'll be discussing. We got together with some county folks and town staff and council, and we had a very good discussion on, we had a housing retreat. And we pulled the best resources we could to put some ideas out there for the council to look at about potential for development, what development looks like, what the percentages are.
Yeah, so we wanted to, and this kind of goes back to the beginning of this dialogue where we were talking about our 5A bonding capacity that we want. There has been this countywide push for workforce housing, and every town is treating it a little bit differently. As you say, we're still trying to. Every town's still trying to figure out exactly. Yeah, it's a new game. For us, we felt like we're a 904 population community. The beds do increase, but we're a very specific slice of the pie for the whole county. So what do we? So we were, I think I can safely say that everyone on the council was interested in how do we kind of quantify what our piece of that pie is? What should we be kind of looking for
baseline
workforce
numbers,
housing?
maybe.
Yeah, some baseline numbers for how are we making sure that we're taking care of what we're supposed to take care of our workforce housing, in this broader context. But then also how are we making sure that drives our downtown development, that we're creating that community that's accessible to, that working class family that wants to come here and grow up in our community. And I think, we came up with a few factors through this retreat and through working closely with the Summit Combined Housing Authority. We did look at our plant, our utility plant capacity, kind of determined we can support up to 400 total residential units, 400,000 square feet of commercial. That's sort of that, we think that's sort of a max build out number. Looking at our community housing needs, the percentage of the funds we kind of looked at as what percentage is going to fund Dillon's workforce housing efforts? How does that extrapolate to the overall county community with a baseline goal of building year-round workforce housing units? You kind of looking at all those numbers, we ended up with we're really trying to target getting 139 workforce housing
additional units.
Yeah, incremental units. Yeah,
Correct.
So 139 new units. 64 ownership, 75 rental. That seems like probably the right mix for this community up here. We've been talking, even before we did this retreat, but certainly we'll be redoubling afterwards, working with Summit County government, as mentioned, that possibly that Forest Service parcel, maybe coming up with some other creative solutions. And then, there's potential partnership for projects that are adjacent to the town, where we are looking at possible infill redevelopment. Everything's kind of on the table. As anybody who knows the town knows that we don't have a huge surplus of vacant land in town, so that makes it a little bit difficult.
We are an infill town.
Yeah, so we're outside of acquiring some new land, it's going to be through that redevelopment process of the town where we find some of those units. But I think did that cover it, Brad? Was there any other kind of piece they were missing? I think that kind of sets that.
I think that's kind of a guideline for us to think about as these developers come forward. And of course, this all won't happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
No.
We're going to get an economic swing at some point here, and it may slow those, change those numbers, and it's an ever-changing mix. Every month, every 6 months, we kind of relook at them.
Your short and medium term needs can change. I think one of the things that I always press folks to remember is that the economy's cyclical. There's going to be ups and downturns, but overall, we've never, over the long term, we've never needed less housing in Summit County. We've never been like, let's raise those condo units because there's too much housing in Summit County. You get a few years where you might be trying to find folks, but where that long term 20-year health of the community is we have to.
If you parallel what happens on the Front Range, you can see what happens in Summit County. There's some definite parallels and growth patterns, and as we're all aware, during the recession, nobody, and I'm a contractor builder, we didn't build anything. We didn't build anything. And then after the recession, financing was so tough, we didn't build anything. We're starting to now. I wouldn't consider most of them workforce, but we're starting to see some of these come through on developments.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, part of our ability to do workforce housing is kind of that bonding capacity, because otherwise I was talking today with some folks, and you're looking at other towns that it can cost you a couple $100,000 per unit to subsidize to bring down to that 60 to 80% AMI level, and you need to if you're getting in whatever percentage we end up year over year getting in through 5A, it's hard to subsidize to those kind of dollars with just tax fund, incremental tax fund, without some other kind of financing mechanism. So.
And that was without the land.
Right, and that was without the land. Yeah.
So, and plus, one of the other impacts is that the VRBO rental community has taken some long-term rentals, a good number of long-term rentals out of the rental pool, and converted them to short-term. So people who used to come up here and rent for the season and leave, those units are not available for them anymore. So it's a market influx, and we're going to react to it by working on getting workforce housing up here. So we're in the middle of we're in full throttle right now. We got projects going on and stuff, but we're known for our events. And Brad, would you like to speak to the concert series and the things that we still have coming up for the summer?
Sure. Let's see. If you missed, I missed them too because they're not on here. This Saturday night, a great Eagles tribute band out of Denver called The Long Run. At least one of the members of Firefall plays with them. They're spectacular. Just go check them out again at Town Park, obviously not the amphitheater. We have, after that, Tunisia, the 22nd, the Nacho Men that always are entertaining on the 29th. Vaude and the Villains on August 5th. I have no idea who that is. You'll go and you'll find out. Widespread Panic has a tribute band out August 12th. I know that they are spectacular. I think they're only playing one night, aren't they, instead of 3 nights like they do it right now?
It's going to be one night.
One night.
August 12th. Catch it. 90s music. About time somebody came up with 90s music. I was waiting for that. August 19th, again, in Town Park.
New Sensation is the band.
New Sensation, that's the band, yes. Thank you, Kevin. My Old School, a Steely Dan tribute band. Check them out on the 26th of August. I'm looking forward to that one. And then $6 Million Band, I believe that's 80s, right?
Yeah, it's mostly 80s music. I'm very excited for that. I love seeing $6 Million Band.
How many times have you seen them this summer, Kevin?
I don't know about this summer. This will be, if they came back, this will probably be my 5th or 6th time seeing them.
And isn't that the one with the attractive lead singer, the gal?
Just
saying. There's an arts festival that starts this weekend, July 14th through 16th. That starts tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Right in downtown Dillon?
So it'll probably have already happened by the time you actually see this, but hopefully you went out and enjoyed it.
That's right. I'm sure you did.
Come out and celebrate Bastille Day.
Okay, and I'm going to try and pronounce this. This is a bike ride, August 12th.
Vuelta a Dillon.
Okay. Tom, you talk about that one. I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's not a race. It's kind of a tour. You sign up and you can go various distances, like 10 miles, 30 miles, and 90 miles. So you can pick where you want to go.
They've been returning several times. This is their third year, I think. They're a great group. They come in and it's very cool. It's very European.
Yeah, it's not a race. So
Yeah.
there is a
I
distinction
might have
there.
to sign up for this. This sounds like fun.
And then, of course, our farmers market goes through September 15th, which I think was mentioned. Again, just, I think this is the third or fourth time we've mentioned it, but, those concerts are going to be in the town park. Don't go to, the amphitheater is going to be not there soon, but we'll, every Saturday, those town park concerts. And I was just thinking, we have had some concerts in town park before, and it's, it's been a great experience. I remember that. Yeah, it's a fun venue. I think people are going to really like it. So
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so I'll be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Especially $6 Million Band in the '90s, my music. That's the other sensation. That's gonna be all great stuff. So I think that brings us to, I think that brings us through most of what the town's been up to in terms of its events and its capital projects and a lot of the stuff that you actually kind of see out there. We do have a couple of other items, as you mentioned at the beginning of this, Tom. This is not only your last Dillon Dialogue. It's coming close to the end of your tenure. What's your last day again?
August 24th will be my last day.
I try not to think about it. So just to let everyone know, Wednesday, August 23rd from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Red Mountain Grill, we will have a going away party for Tom. Going away / retirement.
We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll have him hard at work at Town Hall, burning the midnight oil, but we'll be there celebrating for him. No, it's you've had a tremendous career in public service for the town of Dillon, for Clear Creek County. You've been you've been part of this community for a long, long time. I don't mean to make you sound too old, but you're retired. I think we've had a few years of just a tremendous amount of activity going on in Dillon. I think that's I think it's I chalk up a lot of that to your ability to take what council wants to do and go and execute on that, and being able to utilize a great team. I think we've got another month of you, but we're it's
and we have stuff going on.
And we've got stuff going on. We're keeping you at work, but it's been a great run, and I know I speak for myself, but I think probably all the council that I'll be wishing you all the best, and we'll look forward to these remaining weeks with you, and then just want to thank you for everything you've done for the town.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Heading to the beach.
I second that.
Yeah. So that said, let's talk about his replacement. I didn't want to learn a new name. So for my town manager, so we hired a guy named Tom Aker.
That's right.
He is currently the town manager of South Fork. He's held that position since August 2014. He was the town manager of Trinidad. He spent a lot of time in Commerce City. He was involved in during a lot of that kind of economic development that was going on down there. The building of Dick's Sporting Goods when
Correct.
that came in. Brad, I'll let you kind of take it away with some of your color commentary, but I was very impressed when I met him, and I'm excited to see him come in.
We did a search, obviously, town staff put together, in which we culled it, obviously, down to this one gentleman. Mm-hmm. And he seems to have a lot of small town and/or resort experience, which we need in our small town. We all have multiple relationships with other folks and stuff. It's not a big city. We all know that. And he seemed to embody the best of that. And he seems to he seems to be thrilled to be coming here to work. I just sense enthusiasm. I know, and he'll find out quickly what an incredible town staff has. He'll find that out really quickly. Council, he's going to wonder about us, but that's all right. We know we have to work through them, and we will. We're really looking forward. We're going to miss Tom dearly, but we think we found a very suitable replacement. Yeah,
I think I think what impressed me was besides being involved in in this economic development at various scales, right? It's different in Commerce City versus South Fork, but he's been able to play both, play that role in both areas, which I think is great. What the feedback that we heard about from him and about him was just sort of that collaborative style, working in the community, building consensus. Working with the private sector, working with residents, working with all these, working with different stakeholders, whether that's the town of South Fork, or whether it's in Trinidad or Commerce City or wherever. And I think that's, certainly, certainly, I think any town you go into, that's what people want in a town manager. And I, hope, I would like to bring that in with this guy, and we're going to, hopefully bring it again with our new Tom. So, that's, that'll be exciting. We'll I don't know if he'll be on by the time we tape next, but we'll have him on after. We'll certainly have him sitting in this chair pretty soon.
Give him a little time to sit, not much.
Day 2, we're gonna bring him in.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's it. We have a lot going on. We've been doing a lot.
One more thing. We have 2 new businesses in town.
Oh yeah.
The RAI store opened up 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago.
Yep.
In the old Sports Authority. And I can't tell you personally and/or from a town position what a great addition that is, not only for tax revenues, as you can imagine, but just for the image of Dillon. I think that's a great statement that we have a high-quality store that stepped up, as well as Chiba Hut came in a year ago, a little less. Upscale sandwich shop in town that's doing wonderful. I enjoy their sandwiches very much. 2 new businesses, we like it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I just want to mention, our council meetings are the first and third Tuesdays of the month, and we're, so we always encourage folks to come to work session as well as regular session, because we get a lot of, we do a lot at the, the work sessions we do a lot at, and those tend to be the more kind of informal, chatty kind of portion of the programming. But you can always go online and find out what our what's going to be in our council packets. You can email or call us with any questions. Not him for that much longer, but I think that's if you go to townofdillon.com, that's where you can find all that information. Highly recommend checking it out for this or for any of the projects that you heard about and want to learn a little bit more about.
I would just second that. I get calls and conversations sometimes, and people can just think that town council meetings can be stiff and boring. Well, they can, but it's also where stuff gets done. And as Kevin mentioned, we have 2 components. We have a work session, which is usually before our scheduled 7 o'clock meetings, and they are informal. We all just sit around the table and we'll talk. There's some order to it, but you can really glean a lot from the issues that we're dealing with by coming to those, as well as the meetings. The meetings are a little more formal. And we as council are thrilled when the public comes, either just to observe, maybe not to speak on anything, but so please come to Town Hall for the meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think with that, Tom, do you want to sign us off for the final time?
Well, it's been a pleasure working for the town of Dillon for these past 3 years. It was great, and it'd be nice for my wife and I to move on and retire.
Fine.
Yeah, so I leave it. I had a lot of fun. I feel like we got some things done. We certainly got some stuff in the hopper that's percolating. So I think that's good. We have great staff, so I appreciate it. I thank them because they really do all the work. So.
Well, nice of you to say that now.
Thanks for letting us know.
Well, I didn't want to let that secret out, but actually I think you guys knew that when you hired me. You give me a good staff. So I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for all my time in Dillon and in Summit County, and looking forward to a new chapter. So for the town of Dillon, this has been Dillon Dialogue, and we'll see you next time.